Then I guess we are on, and we are delighted especially to welcome here at Tor Vergata University within the Diplomacy Festival, His Excellency Hamid Reza Bayat, the Ambassador of Iran in Italy. Let me just briefly mention some parts of his important career. He was appointed Ambassador of Iran to Sudan from 2001 to 2005. After returning from Sudan, he served as assistant to the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs for the Arab and African countries. And in 2009 was appointed Director General of the Middle East and North Africa, where he served there for 3 years. In 2011, His Excellency was appointed Ambassador of Iran to Denmark and served at the Iranian embassy there in Copenhagen until 2014. Upon returning from Denmark, he was Deputy Director General of Europe at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs until 2017, and was appointed here Ambassador of Iran to Italy in 2017, also being assigned the Embassy of Iran to the Republic of Malta. He holds a degree in political science and a master degree in regional studies. His Excellency, I leave you the floor. And once again, we're extremely honored to have you here today with us.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of the the Diplomacy Festival for holding this meeting and having me here. I also take this opportunity to express my sympathy with the Italian people for the human losses caused by the corona pandemic. Today, the people of the world are faced with a very difficult phenomenon and challenges, and the confrontation and victory of which requires more cooperation and solidarity between the people of the world. I'm very glad to speak to you, students at Tor Vergata University. On this occasion, I will try to summarize some of the views and position of my country on international and regional issues, as well as relations with Italy, and also some points about the universities in Iran. Since the victory of Islamic Revolution almost 41 years ago, the Islamic Revolution of Iran has based its foreign policy on several principles. First, supporting multilateralism and diplomacy for peace and security. Two, positive and constructive interactions with the international community. Third, supporting peace and stability in the region with the cooperation of the countries in the Middle East and Persian Gulf. Fourth, adopting a policy of counterterrorism and extremism. Five, supporting the Palestinian people and opposing the occupation. Six, emphasize on establishing a close and friendly relationship with all neighbors. From the beginning of the Islamic Revolution until now, we have faced the challenges with the United States and its animosity and their hostile approach against Iran as an Islamic revolution, which we are still witnessing. My country has always shown its commitment to multilateralism as one of the pillars of its foreign policy. Iran Nuclear Agreement, JCPOA, is the best example of this sort of cooperation. Following this agreement, with the approval of the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, and based on the numerous reports of this institute, Iran has fulfilled all its commitments and obligations, while other countries, especially the United States of America and the European members, have not fulfilled their obligations. However, about 2 years ago, President Trump announced the US withdrawal from the JCPOA in violation of its international obligations and imposed illegal and cruel sanctions on my country. In other words, he used economic terrorism against the Iranian people. The United States has not limited its pressure and threats to economic sanction, but has taken on a violent phase by threatening to attack Iran's economic and cultural centers and assassinate the Supreme Commander of the Islamic Republic of Iran, General Qasem Soleimani. Iran has never left the negotiation table, but today there is no confidence in Mr. Trump and his administrations to negotiate. Regarding regional issues, in recent years, development in the regions have become more critical and complex. Than ever, one of the important developments in the emergence and growth of new phenomena, such as terrorist and extremist groups like ISIS, which has posed a great danger to the region and the world. My country is a stable and powerful player in the region based on creating peace, stability, security, and fighting extremism and terrorism. Iran believes that the solution to the problems of Middle East and the Persian Gulf will depend on the cooperation of the countries of the region and not the involvement of external players. In this regard, we have presented and invited an initiative called the Hormuz Peace Endeavor, with the aim of establishing security in the region within the framework of cooperation between the countries of the region. Definitely, introducing other aspects of my country needs more time and another occasion. Today, I have tried to elaborate a little bit on some aspects of foreign policy of Iran. Maybe one of the issues which you as university students like to be familiar with would be the current situation of universities and students in Iran. Roughly, we have about 2,600 universities and almost 4 million students and about 12 million graduates in Iran. 60% of all graduated students are ladies. One of the main priorities in Iran has been focusing on the development of science and technology. Now we are witnessing remarkable achievement in different sectors, as well as medical science and technology, nanotechnology, and different industrial sectors. It is good to know that university graduates have a key role in those achievements. On bilateral relations, I would also like to add some points. Relations between Iran and Italy have a great and well-established historical background. Although the relations between the two countries have been influenced by various factors, including external obstacles, friendly and positive approach between both nations has never been affected. As a good example, I could say that economically, following the signing of the JCPOA, we had a considerable increase in the volume and diversity of economic and political cooperation between the two countries. In less than 3 years, trade between the two countries increased from 1.2 billion to 5.1 billion euro. We had a considerable increase in the volume and Italy became the first trading partner of Iran in the EU. Following the US withdrawal from JCPOA and the reinstating of unilateral and illegal sanctions, these trade relations, like relations with other European countries, changed and decreased. In spite of all that, still Italy is our second trading partner among the European countries. Most of the companies that are affected by these sanctions believe that this behavior of the United States is not only a challenge to Iran, but also to Europe in general, and particularly to the interests of Italy. Nevertheless, Iran and Italy have the capacity and positive approach to cooperation on the regional issues, and the political authorities of the two countries support this policy. We have experienced this approach in practice in several rounds of EU4 negotiations on the Yemeni crisis. Our cultural relations remained a key pillar in our relations. Although bilateral economic relations have affected by current US sanctions, cultural relations rooted in a strong, dynamic, historical interaction between two civilizations. Historically, our both nations and governments have had a positive and friendly approach to each other. This approach has been translated into tangible economic, trade, and cultural relations and interactions. From an economic and trade perspective, many industries in Iran using made in Italy technologies, using these technologies enables our industries to provide high-end products and services. On the other hand, the Italian also enjoyed our huge market, Italy itself, and made in Italy products have a good reputations among the Iranians and are respected by them. As you may well aware, our official relation started in 1861, which both countries opened their embassies in both capital and exchanged ambassadors. Next year, we will celebrate the 160th anniversary of bilateral relations. We are expecting to have several cultural events to celebrate this important moment in our relations. I would like to reiterate that Iran and Italy, despite United States unilateral sanctions, by relying on different and diverse capacities, have intended to maintain and deepen friendly relations. Finally, I would like to point out that we are living in a world in which interaction between the nations and their mutual perceptions are deeply needed. Some of our antagonists spend a lot of energy and force through their media to show off an incorrect and unrealistic image of Iran. But those who have visited my country and got the direct experience have been impressed by the beauties of Iran. They have become familiar with our potentials and capabilities. For those who like, for those who like to have the first-hand and real understanding of my country, I suggest having a precise and focused study on Iran. And also, I invited you to have a visit to Iran to be familiar with our civilizations and historical content. Again, thank you very much for this opportunity to talk with you.
Ambassador, thank you. Thank you so much. So you can see people thanking you in the chat at this point. And I would kindly ask, we have something like 12 minutes to raise your blue hand for potential questions to our ambassador. Yes, the thank yous are there. Now I want to see the questions. Oh, sorry, I'm missing. I have put, okay, there we are. I kindly ask you, I see a lot of questions for the ambassador, to really restrain yourself to at most 30 seconds. Danielle, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, can you hear me? Thank you so much for your really informative presentation. I'm a part of the Global Governance Program. My name is Danielle Fannin. I'm actually originally from the United States. So my question has to do with, the diplomatic relations between the two countries. You kind of touched on this, but, they really haven't had relations since the 1980s. The current Trump administration, things have been getting worse. So my question to you is, what do you think the future is of, diplomatic relations between the two countries? And what do you think, is there any hope? What actions would you need from perhaps the United States to improve those relationships? Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. Ambassador, would you like to receive 2 questions at a time?
Yes, please. It's better 2 to 3 questions and then I answer.
Okay, so we'll have Arina, please.
Hello, thank you so much for your informative talk. My question is related to the coronavirus pandemic.
Introduce yourself, please.
What? Sorry, my name is Irina. I'm a second-year student of global governance from Russia, and my question is related to the COVID pandemic. And I just was wondering how you evaluate the damage that the pandemic caused to Iran and how well the country coped with it so far and is continuing to. And also, since I'm from Russia and I read the news about the new vaccine and that Iran and Russia want to cooperate on that. So I would like to hear your comment about it as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Arina. Julia.
Asbeher, Ambassador. I'm Julia Lofreda from the Global Governance course in Tor Vergata, and my question would be, what do you think that would be the effects on your country according to the outcomes of the American elections? I mean, especially on the economic point of view, I was wondering. Thank you.
Ambassador.
Yes, thank you very much from the questions of students that raised these 3 questions. About the first questions, I can say and I said in my presentations, from the beginning of the Islamic Revolution, we faced hostility from the United States, and they tried to pressures in different, and they show the enmity of United States to Iran, to the people. About from the first beginning days and months of victory of revolution, they started to show their enemies. They support during the 8th war that imposed by Saddam Hussein, the president of Iraq at that time. They support completely the attack of Iraq to Iran, and also economic sanctions in various fields and in various times. So we didn't see the things that saw during these 40 years only the enmity from the United States. So in this regard, during the rule of President Trump, it showed very more worse than the before, and it violates the international agreement that's supported by the United Nations. It violated the very important achievement by the unilateral diplomacy JCPOA. So it's completely clear that United States and President Trump absolutely do not have any approach for negotiations, for constructive negotiations. So in this regard, about the future, we think that they continue this animosity to Iran. So I don't think that until they change the approach of United States, they will see any changes of these relations. About the second issue, about the pandemic of coronavirus, unfortunately, my country faced on two virus at the same time. The virus of corona pandemic, at the same time, the virus of sanctions. Unfortunately, these sanctions affected very negatively to fighting against coronavirus in my country, because it is clear, and all your countries engage with this challenge. And you know very well that when you want to fight for this, you need support, you need the equipment, you need the facilities, but at the same time, we don't have enough equipment. We need, for example, buying some equipment from outside, but at the same time, when we are under sanctions, we couldn't buy some, for example, medicine or medical equipment. So it creates difficulties more than other countries to fighting against pandemic. About the vaccine, we in my country, the scientific of medical science now are trying and working in this regard, and at the same, and also they have connected with the Russian and China also, and they continue this relation. So, when we received any achievement in this regard, we hope that our people also achieve the final conclusion of the this vaccine in the world. About the third question, the affected of my country in the next election in the United States, I can say we don't have any influence, we don't have any relation with the election of the United States. But maybe some of the candidates try to abuse of this. But about the election of my countries, you know that we are 2 or 3 approach in Iran, political approach, but in general, all political groups in Iran have the same approach about the United States. So I don't think that our elections have any affected to this, because as I said, the things that the future of relations depend on the approach, depend on the approach of the United States to my countries. If they change this animosity to my country, maybe we will see another way to solve the problem between two countries.
Thank you, Ambassador. We have 4 last questions. I really ask 30 seconds from each one. Giovanni.
Good afternoon, Ambassador. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Giovanni D'Agostino. I'm from Italy. My question dwells on a domestic issue, but it could be seen also as a foreign affair issue. My question dwells on the mistreatment received by Afghan immigrants and refugees in Iran. I had the pleasure to work with and talk to an Afghan refugee, and as one of the victims of these mistreatments, he stressed the importance of domestic reforms that will allow a better integration for Afghan refugees in Iran. I would be happy to hear your take on that, and I thank you again for being here today.
Thank you.
Davide.
Oh, I'm sorry, my question has already been answered, but thank you very much, Ambassador.
Thank you, Davide. Jane.
Good afternoon, Ambassador. I'm Jane and I'm from the Philippines. My question is connected to the plans of Iran regarding weapons and arms, considering the fact that there was recently the expiration of the arms embargo last Sunday, and Russia has recently expressed wanting to provide support to Iran. Do you think this situation might lead to escalation in already unstable regional equilibrium, or Iran is going to maintain a certain position so as to improve diplomatic ties with other states in the region? Thank you.
Ezra.
Good afternoon. Again, I'm Ezra from another GD2 student from Cyprus, and thank you for being here. I feel very honored. My question will be about your, you were a subject of Terran Times on February 3rd, 2020, about the cultural terrorism and the United States. You have apparently said, and I'm quoting, the United States president's recent threat to destroy Iran's cultural and historical sites is a clear manifestation of global cultural terrorism and is in continuation of the violation of law by the United States to break the Iranian people's resistance. So my question will be about, since we already know that this is an actual breach of the international law as instated in Geneva Convention Protocol, which bans any act of hostility directed against the cultural sites, monuments, works of art of any culture. And also you have 22 sites in UNESCO that are being protected and praised. So my question will be, do you think there should be any legal sanction or any, let's say, an act that should be taken against United States for the breach of this international law?
Ambassador.
Thank you. About the first question that related to the Afghan refugees, I would like to say and inform you that Iran, that now we are about more than 3 million Afghani people living in Iran, and they use all facilities, and the government supports all Afghanis. They use the schools, the treatment, medical treatments in Iran without any problems and difficulties. So in this regard, we invite the other countries, and especially European countries, including Italy, for more cooperations for supporting of these refugees. So we are know that we are knowing that the problems of the people that left their home that come to Iran, we are consider they are brothers and sisters of our people, and they are living without any problems in my countries. And until now, we unfortunately we don't have enough support from the international community and international like European Union and United Nations. But we consider, as I said, we consider that they are our brother and sister, and we support as we can these people that are living in my countries. About the second questions, I would like to mention that you know that for the implementing of JCPOA, based on the Security Council Resolution 2231, from the 18 October, after 5 months period of time, the sanction of armed sanctions is finished and it's the end. And from that time, Iran can have normal export and import military equipment for the other countries in the world. But the things that may be raised in some media about the arms race in the region, I would like to say and inform you that my country is one of the countries in the region that have less than other countries that have import equipment. For example, from 2008 to until 2019, Iran has only 3.5% of import of equipment, military equipment, was belong to my country. My country is always invite the country in the region for escalations of military and arms race. We believe that any arms race in the region absolutely are not in the benefit of my countries and the countries in the regions. Because of this, we invite, as I said in my presentations, we invite the countries in the region for cooperation and create and stability and framework for stability and security by cooperation between the countries in the region. So I want to assure you and the other peoples that my country against any military and arms race in the region. About the third question about the violation by the United States and threatened by the President Trump to attack to the cultural centers. Unfortunately, it is the first time that we hear from the presidents of one country in the world that talk about the attack to the cultural centers. It is very strange. But as you know, Trump says many things strange, and always he said anything strange. But in this regard, we send a letter and to the international institute, international community in the countries of the world. But for imposing of this manner of the United States, it's need the cooperation between all countries in the world. Nobody in the world can accept the violation by country against the cultural centers, cultural phenomena, because any cultural phenomena or cultural centers in Iran that have. Iran is a historical country, and we have many civilizations centers and cultural centers. These are not only belong to the people of Iran. It is belong to all people in the world. It's belong to the human. So all people in the world should support these centers, cultural centers. Thank you. I don't know if I have enough time for.
Ambassador, absolutely. I think we have taken all of your time, but I think it was extremely useful for the students of global governance. As you can see from the comments, there are many, many thank yous and appreciation. So we hope that we will be able, beyond the Diplomacy Festival, to keep in touch with you, and we will extend an invitation to our campus as soon as things, as we all hope, evolve not only in Italy, but all over the world. So thank you one more time, and you can put the microphone on if you want to thank directly the ambassador. Thank you, Ambassador.
Again, thank you very much for this opportunity, and I would like to inform your students that we are in Rome, cultural center that are active, and you can contact with this cultural centers and use from this relations with the cultural center. And also we welcome in embassy and my colleague in the embassy to have relations with your students and your universities. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Ambassador. Goodbye and have a good day.
Goodbye.